blah, 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 blah.
Welcome to the Movie Expletives. I'm Geoff.
And I'm Ron.
Part 2 of the never-ending list that no one fucking asked for continues now. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Alright, on the previous episode that you probably didn't listen to, we did our top 5 TV shows.
You're getting more and more bitter each episode about our listenership.
We should probably do a taps for iTunes and Stitcher.
You want a taps?
Let's do a taps.
Alright.
Rest in peace. Also, play it one more time for my poor guitar that we forgot to talk about. My guitar broke that did the intro. So do one more taps for it. This is like the 2015 in memoriam section of the podcast. We gained YouTube. We lost everything else.
And then can I just sum up my my Dark Souls skills real quick?
Sure. Stray Demon.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get you a Stray Demon T-shirt. That should have been a Christmas present.
That should have gotten you a Howard the Duck Funko.
No. What I'm gonna get you for your fucking next birthday is a Stray Demon, and under it should have kindled.
just a picture of Stray Demon and "you died" across it. That would work.
If they don't have a Dark Souls shirt of the "you died" thing, they really should.
They'd make a bajillion.
They'd make a lot of money off that. But yeah, we are doing on this episode our top 5 films of 2015. If this is the second one, we're doing simultaneous release on them.
Yes.
So if we do any callbacks, it's because this happened after the TV show one. So if you just now found us on this one, go back to the TV show one, watch that one first. Or if you don't give a shit about TV and are more interested in the movies, we will just mostly be focusing on the movies. We have one little bit of news we're going to touch on real quick before we get to that, though. Some photos went online this week, Ron, that kind of blew our nerd brains.
That's not all it blew for me. Yeah. Entertainment Weekly got a number of hits from me this week. If anyone has ever heard of this Doctor Strange movie...
Doctor Strangelove?
that is coming out. Dude, they really should remake that. Anyways, yeah. Benedict Cumberbatch should have been in this role a long time ago.
Everything about this is fucking money, dude. Like,
oh my god.
Like, if this sucks, I'll be devastated. This is one of those.
Oh yeah.
Because everything is going for it, that if it sucks, I'll just cry. I just won't get out of bed for a weekend and just cry.
You know how I am towards every movie that comes out. I am looking so fucking forward to this one. I would give them my bank account number, my routing number, and my social security number to give me this movie now.
Dude, okay. Why don't you do a quick little recap of like what they have in the images for those unaware?
Okay, so basically they have a slideshow of 6 images with the Entertainment Weekly stamp at the bottom of them, as they should, because they're going to get a fuck ton of hits from this. A lot of them are mostly to show off his costume and what he looks in them, the way he looks in them. He looks just like he's off the comic book page.
Okay. It's well established. We're both nerds, but I am more of the comic geek variety. Those pictures just make me happy as a comic book fan.
Yeah.
Because we talked at some point, maybe even on this podcast, how I might have said, like, I think the new Deadpool is the best adapted costume I think I've ever seen. This one's fucking close.
Yeah, it is.
Because this is also in the long list of current comic book costumes that have no fucking business working and like blow you away.
Yeah,
because it is pure fucking gold. Like they pulled no punches. Like every little detail is right off the comic book page, like you said.
Yeah, no,
it's genius.
It's insane. The little touches of gray on the sides of his hair. I don't even know how they got his hair to stay the way it is in these pictures either. Yeah, magic.
Ron, sorcery. Duh.
Speaking of sorcery, the first image they have is him basically with fucking
lightning bolt,
magic or lightning bolt or something going between his hands, Dragon Ball Z style.
Mm-hmm.
He literally looks like he's getting ready to fire like a Gallic gun or something,
dude.
right out of
It's
his hands.
fucking dude. The I don't know what you'd call it, but like the neck guard part of it.
Yeah,
Like what would you consider? Like what would that be called? I don't know what you'd call it.
I just basically the popped collar on the cape, I guess.
It shouldn't work.
No.
And it looks fucking badass.
And I appreciate that it doesn't come up over his head like some of the comic images
Yeah.
of him, like Spawn style, just. But yeah, no, it shouldn't work. But everything about these are badass.
It's so
dude.
cool.
Then this one, this is probably my favorite one. It's a side shot of him looking forward, and he's a little Ra's al Ghul looking with the hair
Yeah.
and everything, and the beard. But dude, just look at the details in that cape.
Yeah, actually, go back to the first image. I never noticed this too. Look at the inlay inside the cape.
Fucking.
Like, they have
There it goes.
look, he actually has like
Yeah.
decorative inlay in the inside of the cape. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? It's so amazing.
That tells you you're going to see that a lot, probably. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered with that detail.
First of all, Cumberbatch is great in everything. He is gonna own the role. He's gonna be really good in it. This says maybe from top to bottom, like the best cast they've had in any of these movies. Because
Yeah.
like run them down: Chiwetel Ejiofor, Cumberbatch, Mads Mikkelsen,
Yeah.
Tilda
Tilda
Swinton, Rachel McAdams.
Yeah, that's
she's
right.
like she's a really good actress. She's like the worst actress in the movie. Like,
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's just incredible. Everything about this.
A little bit of concept art, like on his like Batcave type thing.
Yeah.
They have a name for it, but I've always really liked Doctor Strange, but I have unfortunately never gotten to read much of him. But yeah, they have some cool concept art of his little sorcery Batcave type thing. It looks really cool.
Yeah, the Chamber of Relics
Okay,
is what it was. This one, I have no idea what the fuck is going on, but it's pretty cool.
it's like I think it's kind of a tease for how they're going to have like just tons and tons of alternate dimensions.
I feel like it's going to be one terrifying acid trip.
The director and writer are most famously known for Sinister. It's the writer is C. Robert Cargill, and the director is Scott Derrickson. And you watch Sinister because I made you watch it for Halloween. That movie is moody and suspenseful, and I think they're going to have some. They have great imagery. I think they're going to have some really, really kick-ass imagery in the alternate dimensions. It's like we talk about everything is set up for this to be one of the best movies they've done.
Yes.
Like, I just think it's going to be gold. And Mads Mikkelsen is fucking great too. And
I can't look at him without imagining him crying blood, by the way.
He's fantastic. I think he's going to be a really, really good villain. They still haven't said who he's playing, have they? I don't think it's going to end up being Dormammu. I think they're going to save him for the sequel.
I think they will too. Here's some more concept art of him in the hospital with him looking at the diagnosis on his hands and all the bloody bandages around his hands, and
Which we won't go into detail because it is an interesting story. If you're going in cold, like it is an interesting story. Which I don't think we should get into.
No, I'll let the movie do it, and who knows how they'll do it too. It might even be different.
They'll be
put their own
different,
spin on it.
Yeah, could not be more excited. It looks amazing.
This cover. Cover of EW, holy shit.
November 4th, 2016. I actually know the date. I never know the dates.
No, that's
You,
impressive. No, I hope a lot of his spells are that way, dude. That's an anime thing to do with the circle with all the runes and all that stuff right there in his hand as he's casting. That's a video game / anime thing to do. That looks like Full Metal Alchemist to me. Like, that's pretty awesome.
Don't you fuck it up, Marvel.
I don't know if they can at this point. Everything about this movie is so right.
Age of Ultron was a letdown, but it's not bad. I don't think there's any way it's going to be bad. So.
I don't think there's any way that it'll be bad, but Jeff, I don't put myself out there in the open often. You know me.
You got your ass
I stay
on
in the bush. I don't.
You got your ass on the line on this one, so hopefully they don't let you down.
I don't think they will. I don't think Benedict Cumberbatch would have anything to do with this movie if he didn't like what he saw.
That script is good.
He can do any movie he wants. He could walk into a studio and say, "Put me in the movie," and they'll be like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Cumberbatch," and start writing a movie.
Right away, Mr. Holmes.
Yeah, exactly. So, for him to say, "Yeah, I'll do it," yeah. I mean, he did say that he had never read a comic book before in his life when he signed on to it, but apparently he has been catching up. was my understanding also, which leads me to believe it's even more that awesome. Because not only is he going to make it his own, he will incorporate the comics. You know he will. He's studying source material. He's a brilliant actor.
I don't know if you heard at some point, I forget where he said it, but he was talking about how he's been doing homework on comparing what his hand motions do during the special effects to moments in the comic. Because he said he didn't want people...
Really?
He didn't want the diehards to say, well, in the comic, he always does this when this happens. Yeah. He's actually doing the fucking hand motions from the comic for spells.
That's insane.
That's fucking awesome, dude. Like, as a comic geek, hearing Cumberbatch do that, I was like, I love you. I love you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. But that's one of the things we are most looking forward in 2016, but we are going to...
Which is going to be a batshit crazy year for comic books.
If half the geekdom movies in 2016 are good, it's going to be mind-bending.
Yes.
But yeah, we're going to take a look back now at the year that is and is about to be over in 2015. And why don't we really quickly talk about movies as a whole in 2015? We talked on the recent episode about how TV is kind of in the golden age.
Yes.
TV, as far as kind of cranking out crazy quality all the time, has overtaken movies. What I looked at when I saw the movies for 2015 is I had a pretty easy time figuring out what was in my top 7-ish.
Yeah.
If we were doing a top 10, I think I would have had some problems because it was kind of top heavy.
Yeah.
Like there was a chunk of stuff that was very, very, very
I only
good.
saw 9 movies, so
that tells you all you need to fucking know.
I wouldn't even have a top 10.
And I saw more than you did because I have a few buddies at the Warren, which is a theater. Are Warren is that only in Oklahoma or is it kind of a chain?
It's getting bigger. I think it's more like Central Plains. I think they're based out of Kansas.
It's a theater chain. I have a few buddies that have stuck me into screening, so I've seen a little bit more than you, but there wasn't much. Like it was very top heavy.
Kind of almost competing with the Alamo Drafthouse in a way, right?
Yeah.
That's a well known.
As they're selling a kind of a movie experience instead of a movie theater.
Yeah, it's, I would say more of like a movie going experience. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
But
that
do
was
a
just,
very good job at it too.
That was just my thoughts. Like, do you have any on just the year as a whole? Any quick thoughts?
Basically, just if I look at the overall list of movies that came out this year, very little original stuff was one thing I had to comment on. It was kind of the year of remakes and reboots.
I think it's been the decade of
it's true.
Remakes and reboots. That's the reason. That is why TV has overtaken movies, because these movies cost way too much fucking money to make now, where they can't afford to not make something that's going to make profits.
So no one wants to take risks.
No one can take chances. All the people that can take chances in Hollywood, as like those people, like look back right now at Breaking Bad. If those dudes have been wanting to make that, I mean, obviously we're talking apples and oranges, but if they tried to make that central idea into a film, never would have gotten made.
They never.
You want to know why? Because it wouldn't make money.
Yeah,
and that's a goddamn shame because it's so good.
Yeah,
but the movie industry has turned into a money making industry instead of like the creative aspect of movie making is kind of dead.
Yes, pretty much.
Like the only creativity we get now is when Marvel decides to make something different they haven't made yet within their universe.
Yeah,
you don't. Like
say Doctor Strange.
Doctor
Strange. It's probably going to be their first horror
Guardians,
movie.
Stuff like that. Like when they're branching out, like that's the closest we get to original now, which is a shame. And we're taking. There is the indie market of movies, just like there is in video games. Like there's stuff out there, but it's just a shame that is relegated to that part of the market.
And the one thing that wasn't was one of the movies I didn't get to watch, so it's not on my list at all that I want to see, which was Mr. Holmes.
Me too. Yeah, that we might have to do like an after the fact, a little asterisk if we ever get around to watching that movie. But I wanted to watch it a lot too.
Referendum or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
appendix or something.
So I started on the TV section, right?
Yes.
So you are going to be starting with your number 5 in movies. Go.
Jurassic World.
Okay. Let's take a second.
Okay.
Who shat all over Jurassic World?
That's where I was about to go, actually.
Yeah.
So, I'm not exactly...
You continue. I'm going to find a drop for this moment. I'm
not... Probably sad trombone.
Let's see.
Anyways, got kind of what I expected,
Shame.
but didn't at the same time.
Give me a shame short.
Shame short? All right.
Shame.
Okay. I just want to get that out there.
Okay. So, all right. Now that the bell has been rung, I got a lot of what I expected, but a lot of what I didn't with Jurassic World. I expected it to suck. I expected
You expect
it to
everything
be,
not named Doctor Strange to suck.
pretty much. And or at this point, Star Trek. But, oh boy, that'll kill our podcast faster than anything with the internet reaction to that trailer.
I don't think our podcast needs killing. I think this is kind of like, it's like crawling.
They'll just, at this point, they can only poke us with a stick.
It's like we are the podcast equivalent of Herbert the Pervert's dog and Family Guy. Like we're just
dragging our
we're just
legs.
crawling, like waiting to die and hoping someone will kill us.
Kill me. But no, it basically, I don't look at it as a cinematic masterpiece. I look at it more as like Guardians. Like, it was a really fun movie. Like, with the Jurassic Park franchise, the first one, fucking amazing movie, right? Made cinema history. It broke records. It changed filmmaking in a way. It changed the way they do a lot of things. And it was really probably one of, at least in its day, one of the biggest movies to come from a book. You know, so it was a pretty impressive movie. But when you go into the sequels, how much can you do with a dinosaur disaster movie except to have said dinosaurs trying to be controlled by humans and then escaping? Like, there's not a whole lot I feel like you can do with it. But it was a good, fun movie, and I honestly just expected, you know, a more like PG version of the first one, which it kind of was, but they had their own spin to it.
My whole thing with Jurassic World, and we went in detail mostly on Terminator Genesis.
Yeah, we went into a lot of detail.
Terminator Genesis and Jurassic World are just trying to be fun.
Yes,
and there is nothing wrong with a movie trying to be fun.
There's
There's not enough of it.
Yeah.
So for the internet to just bend it over and then tear it apart.
Probably if I was pitching a movie that was just going to be fun, neither one of those would probably be the ones I would pick. But because they're both extremely dark, their original properties are.
But the films we're talking about are
the specific sequels that we're talking about. Were fun movies. Yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy level fun. They have their issues, you know, but they don't really subtract from the movie.
And it's also the type of thing where, like, you can't bitch about the girl running at high heels when she's running from a dinosaur. You fucking assholes. I'm sorry.
But I do draw the line at Jeeps that have been sitting for 20 years.
God, man, if only those Jeeps had been glowing, those would have been like a full-on miss the honorable mentions. I'm never gonna let you live that down. Fucking Kyle Reese's abs, shit that glows in sci-fi, and the Jeeps.
If it was Kyle Reese shirtless in a glowing Jeep from 20 years ago that they magically got started, my head would just explode.
A glow-in-the-dark Jeep. That made me laugh.
Hey, at least I own that my complaints about movies are bullshit sometimes.
You do, and I love making fun of you for it, so I want you to keep doing that. Was there anything else you wanted to add to Jurassic World?
No, there's not a whole lot to say, really. I mean,
I had nothing but fun with that movie, and I am not even.
I saw it a few times in theaters.
You did? See,
I saw it more than once.
I saw it the one time.
I saw it 2 or 3. I know at least 2, maybe 3.
I saw it the one time. I am not as I watched all of the Jurassic Park movies as a kid and really liked them, but it never hooked me as much because I think just in general as a kid, I was more into superhero stuff, specifically than like dinosaurs. Dinosaurs never really did it for me. So like I thought they were cool movies as a kid, but I didn't have a nostalgia for like where I got into it really.
Right.
So like with Jurassic World, I just went into it, had fun.
I think part of the reason why Jurassic Park blew me away was when I was a kid, the only dinosaur stuff was either the Dollar General toys that you got or like Land Before Time.
See like when you had like.
Which, by the way, I'm old enough to remember the original Land Before Time, not Land Before Time like 13 or whatever they're on now.
Probably more than that.
They're
now.
still making them, dude. Did you know that?
Yeah, it's probably like 35 now on the direct-to-DVD ones.
God.
But like my dad, being a comic geek, had me at 2 years old watching the Batman animated series and the Spider-Man and the X-Men cartoons, where I gravitated heavily to superhero stuff instead of like dinosaurs and robots and stuff like that. So I had like a more specific, I had like a geared childhood because my dad like what's the mind controlled me into being a comic fan, basically. Yeah. I got like indoctrinated. That's the word.
Indoctrinated.
That's
yes.
where I was thinking.
We're so good at this whole podcasting thing.
The whole thing making words form a sentence. Yeah, fuck that. But yeah, I adored Jurassic World. I thought it was a lot of fun, and for all you people bending it over, it's just supposed to be a fun movie.
Yeah.
Like, for fuck's sake, try to go to the theater and have fun.
You know what? Say whatever you want about that movie. It laughed all the way to the bank, dude. That movie made... How much did it make worldwide again? It made a fuck ton. You remember that? It just kept going up.
At the time, before Star Wars, it had the all-time best domestic opening at $204 million. It edged out, I think, Age of Ultron was the one right before that. No, it was the first Avengers. I think the first Avengers was the one that cleared 200.
Yeah.
And Jurassic World was like 204, 208. But
I remember all the memes of Chris Pratt like dancing and just money falling all around him.
It's still crushing. Like it was nuts because like people did what you did. They went back and saw it 2 or 3 times because it was a fun movie.
It was a fun movie.
It is okay. I know we live in bitchnet world. It is okay to have fun watching a movie.
Yeah.
Seriously. Before I had an aneurysm, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No. Okay. For your health, that was all I had.
Okay. We'll move back. My number 5 is The Martian.
Okay.
That's a good choice. I absolutely love, as you know, the book.
Yes.
One of my all-time favorite books now.
Same.
So good. And
believe it or not, I read a book this year.
I know, right? We played a video game and we read a book. Singular. The Martian had a whole lot of opportunities to fuck up that book.
Which, by the way, I'm going to take the moment and say, if you're listening and you do only read one book a year, go out and read The Martian.
Freaking Martian.
I swear to God, it's not Math the book, like a lot of people are saying it is.
It's somehow scientific and fun at the same time. Like it was an odd combination. It's like Bill Nye. It's like Matt Damon, Bill Nye on Mars. But they had
That's a movie I would watch.
They have a lot. They have.
Well, it was nominated for Best Comedy.
We're not even getting into that. I will have an aneurysm. That was maybe the dumbest thing I've heard in my life.
Ridley Scott had an aneurysm. Maybe even Drew Goddard.
This is why the Golden Globes and the Oscars are bullshit. Don't matter. But they had a million opportunities to fuck up that adaptation because that book is a fantastic book, but it makes for kind of a weird transition into a movie, at least in my opinion.
I have to say, of books that I've read converted into movies anyways, because if I haven't read the book, I can't really judge except for certain ones like Harry Potter and Hunger Games I have some issues with because I can clearly tell that they edited stuff out of those, and there's other things that I would have to turn to my wife and ask about to clarify. But of stuff that I have read and seen the movie on both, Drew Goddard did an amazing job adapting that.
It is one of...
Like, I don't know how... a book is so dense. Trying to condense that down into just a couple of hours and get the same idea from the story and to make the audience feel the same way about it is an incredibly daunting task. And he did a very, very good job.
Yeah, okay. Where a lot of book adaptations...
See it for that reason alone.
Where a lot of book adaptations go awry is because they end up in the editing stage when they're breaking it down. They figure out a way to get from point A to point B, but they lose the heart of what makes the thing it. Like, this felt like The Martian.
You know what I've always felt like about it? My take on it is, to me, it always felt like the movies are written for the people that read the book. Because they know those asses are going to be in the seats either way. They went out and, it's not like you go see a movie, you spend a couple of hours at the movie, and you like it or you hate it. A book, you invest time and energy into reading. And unless you're my wife, you don't read a book in just a couple of hours. Dude, I feel like she's Eddie Murphy in that Meteor movie where he just touches the book and absorbs its knowledge. But
I'm a slow reader too. It takes me forever to finish books.
yeah, it takes me a long time. So if I'm going to invest that much time, and I could be playing video games, watching other TV shows or movies, then it has to hold my attention and it has to be good. And there's a lot of movies that I see that are adapted from books that you can tell it's tailored just for the people that read the books. The Martian was not that way. My wife did not read that book. She had no questions to ask me for clarification. She understood everything that happened. She thoroughly enjoyed that movie. You know, and it was a good movie and very well written. This whole podcasting thing is working fabulously. It was very well written. I was going to say really well written, and I...
Blah, 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 blah.
That's all, folks. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a whole lot of ways they could have fucked up. They adapted it beautifully. And they also were... It's hard enough adapting a book. They adapted a book that's a one-man show.
Yes.
That's fucking difficult.
And you know how I feel about Matt Damon?
And even you praised him for that performance because he was awesome in that movie.
The hardest thing you can do is be the only person on screen.
Because, like, you hear all the time, like, do you know when they were making the Hobbit movies, they actually had Ian McKellen. He actually wasn't with the other actors. He's actually with stand-ins. So he got frustrated because he was having to act with the stand-ins and not actually with the people who were the hobbits and were the hobbit and the dwarves.
Yeah.
So like he got so frustrated to the point where he started crying on set because he got so frustrated that he couldn't feel like he could effectively do his job.
Right.
So like when you're asking Matt Damon to be charming, make the audience laugh, when it's just him, like that was a daunting undertaking. He did a damn good job.
Yeah.
And he felt like that character to me.
He really did.
Which is the ultimate thing when you're adapting.
It's almost it wasn't, but because I've heard all the interviews and stuff with the author, but it's almost as if that role in that book was written for him. To be honest,
because like my whole thing.
That's at least the way Matt Damon saw it because that's the way it was portrayed. That was for sure.
My whole thing with adaptations of any sort, be it comics, remakes of movies, adapting stuff into a TV show, anything. As long as he gets the heart and soul of what makes the thing, I'm totally down with it. And this felt like it wasn't edited down like to a colossal amount.
To me, the things that they could not cut out, they did not. You know what I mean? Like there were things that some people wished was in the book. My favorite line from the book wasn't in it, you know, and there's things but those are your memories that you cherish from the book that's coming out. You know, like my wife didn't know any of those things because she hadn't read the book, and you know she thoroughly enjoyed everything about it.
Yeah, in one way, I actually liked the movie better than the book. I actually thought they did a good job because of the actors they chose of making the NASA guys more likable.
Yes.
Because in the book, they weren't bad, but they weren't nearly as likable as Watney. But with the two specific ones that I really liked was Chiwetel Ejiofor and Jeff Daniels. I thought they brought a lot to making those characters likable, and also Drew Goddard wrote them in a way to where they could be likable even more.
And Mitch, the mission controller, I never... Like, in the book, he was okay, but I would kind of forget about him until I mentioned him. But I was always interested when Sean Bean walked in the room, too.
His dynamic with Jeff Bridges was very, very good.
Yes.
Yeah, I just absolutely loved The Martian. If you are going to read one book from this year, I think it might have been last year. If you're going to read one book right now, read The Martian. I agree with your statement. But yeah, that's my number 5.
My number 4, Kyle Reese's abs, the movie.
Terminator Genesis?
Yeah.
Fucking shame the long one.
Shame. Shame.
You wanna know what my favorite Christmas present of this year was?
What's that?
Year 4 and 5 of the year being the things you would not shut the fuck up about. And I'm like over here telling you on the pod, I have fucking evidence. Like, Ron, give it a chance. Quit hating on something you haven't even seen. And here we stand. 8-9 months later.
I still have a lot of problems with the movie overall, story-wise.
I'm so glad we did this. This is like made my year.
And visual-wise, you know, his abs are distracting. But, yeah. It was, again, I feel the same way about it that I did Jurassic Park. You know, it's got its flaws. It's not maybe the sequel you were wanting, but you're happy you saw it. It was a good, fun movie.
It was really fun, and
it was kind of charming in its own way.
It was fun. It was lighthearted. And it felt like Terminator to me, even though it was like, okay, this is actually the thing when we reviewed it. My favorite Terminator is Terminator 2.
Yeah.
And it felt like Terminator 2 to me.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it was like
it may be Terminator 2 a little bit to the nth degree, because Terminator 2 is a lot lighter than the first one. But it's still dark. I wouldn't say that this one is dark in any way, but there are some terrifying moments with Genesis though in that movie. But
God, it breaks my heart we're not going to get a sequel to that.
I know.
I wanted to see Dr. Skynet so bad.
I know, I really did too. But they made Arnold work in it. Also, I was kind of worried. I thought it was kind of time to move on to a new model. But
they made him likable. That was the first time Arnold's been likable in a movie in 20 years?
Something like that, yeah. Maybe since Terminator 2.
Man, he was likable. I liked Khaleesi's Sarah Connor. I thought she was pretty likable. Yeah. They didn't give her as much to do as they could have, because she is one of the best actresses in Hollywood at the moment.
And technically, Sarah Connor was always kind of the star.
Yeah.
But they kind of shied away from making her the star.
They did a good job, I think, of turning the story of the first one on its head.
Yes.
Like the scene they have in the trailer where Kyle Reese is going to save her and she comes in like a total badass, saves him. That was a cool little take on it.
And she says I forget who says the original line. Was it Arnold in Terminator 2 or was it Kyle Reese in Terminator 1? But they come with me if you want to live. That's
Kyle Reese. That was the first time.
That's
Michael
the first
Biehn.
thing she says to him when she opens.
That's a cool little
throwback.
Cool throwback.
God, I want to watch the first two Terminators now. I haven't seen them in years.
I had nothing but fun with Terminator Genesis, and we're not going to go into detail again about how everyone hated it, because we did that for 2 hours before.
Yeah, and I don't want to go into too great a detail on anything in these lists either, because unlike TV shows, people probably just got these for Christmas and haven't seen them yet or something. But yeah, that was number 4. Like I said, not a lot to say about it. I mean, there's something about the main plot, though, that I'm going to say never fucking happened. You know what it is very well, I'm sure. But
the fact that it's in your top 5 in spite of that means it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Which is good for them. They made a fun movie.
I'm never riding a bus.
So the next time we're
especially a Skynet
the next time we're in the conversation, which we will be probably as soon as the next podcast of Ron being, this is going to be dog shit. I fucking hate it that it even exists. I just can't imagine why they would even do that. I have evidence. Yeah, you have no idea how happy I am right now.
I can tell. You're like giddy.
Because I always give you, because you troll me into getting mad because you hate on everything, and I'm just like, just give it a chance, Ron.
Well, one, it's so fun to make you mad, because you're usually so laid back and mellow.
Yeah, I am such a geek, through and through.
And you're always like, well, people are entitled to their own opinions, and then I say something like that, and you just go way off the handle.
No, I go off the handle because you're formulating an opinion about something you can't formulate an opinion on yet.
I think I can when they're advertising something to me, and my opinion comes from, they're trying to get me to have an opinion with their advertising. And then I form my opinion based on that. So I think I'm still entitled.
That is true, but don't sit here and tell me you didn't shit all over those two movies.
I did.
To the point where you weren't even really giving them a chance. That's my whole thing, is you can hate on the trailer all you want. We do it all the time.
I went and saw Terminator because it had Terminator in the name. That was the only reason I was really going.
That
and one actor that I was hoping it would launch a movie career for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to counter your point with, in fairness to everyone involved, and we just saw it with the Star Trek trailer because of who came out and talked about it afterwards, the people who make the trailers often are associated with the people who made the movie.
Right.
That's the advertising department. Totally different. Like on the Star Trek Beyond trailer, Simon Pegg is one of the main writers of the movie, and came out and actually said he didn't really like what was shown in the trailer. Some aspects of them like with the
They
motor.
showed it as like a high octane movie, basically.
So I just want to say, like, sometimes it's not fair to judge the movie by the trailer because not always is it done by the same people.
Granted, but the trailers are supposed to be what hooks me and makes me want to go see the movie.
That's totally fair. I'm not saying you're wrong.
The thing is, we're both right. That's the problem with this argument.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where
I'm on one side of the coin, you're on the other.
It's just a lot of times it sounds like you are not giving it a chance at all. I'm of the opinion, like, unless it's Trank's Fantastic Four, where it has dog shit written all over, or even I, Mr. Optimistic, am shitting on it, like, I am usually of the opinion, like, yeah.
You notice that's the one I didn't see. When you agreed with me, I didn't even waste my time or money. Like,
yeah.
it was...
Yeah, I am just always of the opinion of just wait, and then cause what happens is if you like with Terminator Genesis, it's like it's totally okay to say I hate this trailer or what it represents, but it's not fair to say, oh, I hate that movie already. Like,
and the biggest fucking spoiler,
yeah, you're totally dead on that.
Was in that trailer.
When they spoil shit in movies is totally egregious, and that pisses me off. You know who pisses off more? The writers and directors. Because a lot of times they have no control over the marketing.
Right.
Because as soon as they've directed the movie and submitted it in, sometimes they don't even touch it.
Yeah.
Like, ever again. Like, it's kind of a shame, because that would have been a cool reveal, but it wasn't a reveal because of the fucking trailer. But yeah. I totally lost my train of thought. That was number 4, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to preface my number 4 by saying my number 4, 3, 2, and 1 are all interchangeable and all could have been number 1. Because these were the ones where it was painful for me to rank them.
That was my top 3.
Mad Max is my number 4.
Okay.
Mad Max for me.
You're wrong, but okay.
Mad Max for me. I adore it. Obviously, I went back and saw it like 2 or 3 fucking times.
And it's not a cinematic masterpiece, but it's close.
It's a cinematic action masterpiece.
Yes.
And as much as I love it for what it is, I'm never going to be able to disassociate it being an action masterpiece, which is it's a fucking action masterpiece, and it's the type of action that I've been asking for fucking years, because it disappeared from Hollywood for decades.
And it pushed every limit of filmmaking, just about. And of any sequel that's come out, probably even in the past decade to anything, that was a fucking awesome sequel to something, dude.
Yeah, and it almost worked. It's like it works as a sequel and a reboot at the same time, kind of. It was just one of those things where I loved Mad Max for the action. Some of the other stuff on my list that's ahead of it, I loved it for its action that wasn't as good as Mad Max, but as an entire, like everything, all parts equal together had more to offer than just action. And like I said, Mad Max easily could have been number 1.
Yeah.
For me. Like, they're all interchangeable in my brain, and it was so difficult for me to rank these.
Dude, everything from the action to, it had like 2 or 3 different plots kind of meshing together, which is difficult to balance. But also the fact that you could take a movie where the character that the movie franchise is based on is not the star and make it that good, because you could easily argue that Mad Max is not the star of that movie.
I don't think it's an argument. I think Furiosa clearly is the lead of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's actually, that ties into the way all the Mad Max films have been outside of the first one. Road Warrior and fucking Thunderdome, Beyond Thunderdome, are both, like, it's kind of arguable, like, who the lead is, because they usually, Mad Max is like along for the ride. Right. He's not the star of the show. It's just that's how those movies work. But yeah,
he's a character that's almost more like, why does this shit keep happening to me? Type.
What I will say for Mad Max is what it set out to do. It did better than any movie of the year.
Definitely.
But there were other movies that had more to offer than just action. So adding everything up together, that's what made it come in at number 4 for me. So back to your number 3.
I don't even remember. I got to look, because I said I've juggled these around so much. Again, my top 3 are almost a tie.
It was this is what made the movies more difficult than the TV for me. My TV were more cut and dry.
I just want to make sure that that's clear as we go through the rest of these, because it was a juggling act, and it was not easy, and eventually got to the point where I made a list, I'm fucking putting my phone down and not touching it anymore because I'm tired of messing
Dicking
it up.
with it, yeah.
Just because every time I looked at it, I changed it.
I think I have a feeling of what you're going to say. Let's hear it.
Ant-Man.
Okay. That was not the one I was thinking.
That's what I was going to ask. As far as great filmmaking goes, Ant-Man is not going to be like number one as far as everything, because I mean, it's a superhero movie, it's hokey, it's all that stuff, but it also kind of works because it owns up to all of that, you know what I mean? But again, just like my other two movies, it was a fucking fun movie, and it was unlike maybe not so much Jurassic World, but Terminator maybe a bit much for, younger audiences and stuff. But Ant-Man is a family movie, and it works for everybody in the family. It works for little Timmy, and it works for mom and dad at the same time. You know what I mean? So, everything about that movie was gold to me. Especially the back it up. I mean,
to me, I think it's the funniest Marvel movie they've done. From start to finish, I think it is the funniest.
It is honestly, for me, maybe the crown jewel of the Marvel films in Phase 2. I'm going to say that just because Guardians of the Galaxy was a fun and great movie, but if you compare it and like Ant-Man,
it has more flaws than Ant-Man, I would say.
Yeah, it has a lot more flaws than Ant-Man. It was a fucking heist movie, which I love. And, everything that we loved about Guardians is in this movie, plus a plot that you buy into, and that's probably one of their best villains in the movies besides Loki.
Okay, first
you
of all,
totally stand behind the villain. You totally buy into the villain.
And it comes down to a really, really basic thing. It's apparent of what his motives are. We don't even know what the motive of the villain is in a lot of the Marvel movies, which is kind of sad.
Especially Guardians.
In Iron Man 3, what was the bad guy's motive?
I'm going on a date with Gwyneth Paltrow?
In Thor 2, what was the bad guy's motive?
Be noticed in the movie?
Give Doctor Who a paycheck? In Iron Man 2, what was the villain's motive?
Cut some cars in half?
For 5 minutes and never be appearing in the movie again? Yeah. We clearly...
No. It was to get his bird back, remember?
Oh,
he wanted his bird.
Yeah. But it's kind of sad how underdeveloped, and we love them all in spite of it because they're fun.
Yeah.
But this had the fun, plus we actually knew the villain's motives. We haven't even mentioned...
let's be honest. Ant-Man, really...
It shouldn't have ever even been made. It's amazing.
It should not have been made. And then, Yellow Jacket, really? And then, dude, when he got in the suit, he was a fucking terrifying villain.
So let's break this down. One movie that's not going to be in our top 5 is Avengers Age of Ultron. That has Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Scarlet Witch, The Vision, Black Widow, Nick Fury, probably other people I'm forgetting. Ultron. This had Ant-Man, and we like it better. Come on.
Ant-Man was the star of this, except Michael Pena kind of stole the show.
Michael Pena stole the show for me. He was my favorite part.
Dude, Michael Douglas was fantastic.
Yes, dude. I really, really liked Evangeline Lilly, her character, too. I thought she was really good.
And the beginning scene with Haley Atwell. And then,
that was so good. I want to rewatch it now.
I have it.
I have it, too. I just haven't gotten to rewatch it yet.
But... yeah, Ant-Man was a very strong contender for any of those top 3 spots.
I think the biggest thing that film had going for it was just be fun. It set out what it wanted to do. It wanted to be fun.
Yes.
It was funny throughout the entire movie, and it was like Guardians. If Guardians had one more pass through the script, kind of it was like fine,
It was a well-oiled machine, basically. It
finely tuned, yeah.
Yeah, what blew me away about it was, like we said many times now, it was fun. But It had a plot that worked. It had a villain you understood and bought into. And the graphics in it were amazing. The way, okay, first off, how fucking cool was the throwback to the comics whenever he changed his size? The graphics on it. That's the way it was in the frames on the comics, right?
Yeah.
With it kind of stuttering down in size or up in size. That was a pretty cool attention to detail. But then to have both Ant-Men from the comics be the stars in it and make that work, Batman Beyond style.
Just genius.
That was ingenious. To have Paul Rudd constantly wanting to change the name.
He was like, really? Ant-Man?
Yeah, and I'm Ant-Man. I didn't decide the name. It was just everything about that was just
also one of the best trailers of the year was the Thomas the Tank Engine trailer, because that completely fucking sold the tone of that movie.
I mean, I would give the guys that do the honest trailers that it was the first Iron Man movie all over again, but
who fucking cares, dude? Like,
I don't.
Yeah.
I own them both. I will watch them both.
They're amazing. Yeah.
So yeah, they did put those two movies side by side on screen.
The two that were on the top of the totem pole in Phase 2 of the MCU for me was that Ant-Man and the Winter Soldier, which you already know. Those are the two.
Yeah.
Like Winter Soldier and that are such apples and oranges on what they're trying to accomplish. Because in the way that Ant-Man is a goofy heist film, Winter Soldier is kind of like an espionage spy thriller that works in its own right and also hadn't been done in the MCU yet. What
was interesting about Winter Soldier, not to get too far off, because that wasn't even this year, right? That was last year.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting about Winter Soldier and why it was, I don't know what is my favorite because of the end of Phase 2, but for the longest time, that one blew me away because, one, I don't really give that big of a shit about Captain America. And that movie is what basically the Nolan films, to me, were trying to be for Batman. Except maybe better executed. Because it was an action drama / espionage movie, like you said, that just happened to star Captain America. You know what I mean?
Like, you don't give a shit about that character, but, like, that movie, by the end, there are some, like, touching character moments
going on.
If you don't
even like superhero movies, you will still like Winter Soldier.
It's just a good movie through and through, yeah. It's kind of like Dark Knight. Like, people that don't even like Batman, I think, could like Dark Knight because it is a heist, not a heist, it's a crime film that happens to star Batman and the Joker, basically.
Which is what I was getting at with the analogy there. So, yeah. What was your 3?
So that was your number 3, and my number 3. God, these were all fucking picking between children. Kingsman was my number 3.
See, I didn't have any hair left trying to make this list.
Kingsman was... you can't even describe Kingsman and what it is. It's just like bare bones awesomeness from beginning to end.
Yes.
And, God, I wish I watched it in a movie theater.
Yeah.
I hate myself for not getting around to watching it in the theater.
I do
really
now.
do.
Thanks for that, Dick.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No, dude.
You just watched this like 4 days ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really fresh in your mind. Like Kingsman.
I don't know how fresh it is with the amount of alcohol I had, but
it is.
Dude, I remember you even saying when you're leaving, you need to watch this again when you're sober.
Yeah, you definitely do because there's a lot there. Like to
don't worry, I'm buying it.
It was just fucking awesome beginning to end. It's funny. The reason Kingsman is ahead of Mad Max is because Kingsman, to me, brought some badass action with it, in addition to...
It had a lot of badass action. What was interesting about that action, though, is it was over the top, like, say, Into the Badlands, but it wasn't Into the Badlands over the top, if that makes any sense. Like, you could buy into it, even though you knew it was over the top. Everything that they did, there's no way you could ever do that in real life, that you were fucking happy that they did it, and it just totally worked. And the way it was filmed, the way that action was filmed was beautiful.
It was directed by Matthew Vaughn, who did X-Men First Class, if you didn't know that.
No, I did not know that. But yeah, they do the thing where it's in like real time, then it'll slow down for a key moment, and then real time again, and
and I will not
some of it high speed,
and I will not spoil which scene of it, but you know which one I'm talking about. To me, was the scene of the year in any movie.
Yes.
When I watched that movie, and I watched it for the first time on DVD, and I rewound the scene probably 5 times before I continued on with the movie.
My jaw was in my lap the entire scene.
Like the soundtrack to it with that scene was just genius, and it was because like that.
And you know what? Not only was it a great movie with you buy into the plot and everything too, but it was also a fun movie.
I think that's been the reoccurring theme to our list.
Yeah,
is the best stuff this year was fun, and
because it was a serious movie, but it didn't take itself seriously.
It was almost like if you took one of like the Pierce Brosnan Bond movies, and that was made by like James Gunn, like someone who took that to the nth degree of just silliness, and we're just gonna be freaking balls to the wall. Like that movie's pacing is awesome. Never a dull moment. All the actors are really good.
The slower moments are still interesting.
They have an interesting setup for the movie. All the actors are great. The star of the show is Colin Firth. I adore his character in that movie.
And I remember saying at the beginning of the movie, because when I think of action movies, I think of Colin Firth.
I think of the King's Speech.
And you said you will by the end of this movie.
Fuck yeah.
And I want him in more roles like that.
Do you know how much fun that guy probably had making that movie?
Oh, God.
Like, I can only imagine. Like, that, like...
someone sign him and Ewan McGregor up for more movies like that. More action movies. Could you imagine a sequel to that with Ewan McGregor?
I'm gonna need a moment. Go clean myself up. He
was about the only one missing. It was Mark Strong, Colin Firth,
Bill Nighy. He wasn't in it. There was like 2 British dudes who were missing. But
Michael Caine was in it.
Yeah,
we didn't have Loki and we didn't have Obi-Wan. That was the only
that was it.
The only 2 people missing.
Yeah,
and I'm sure we're forgetting some. Oh, we had the dude from Pirates of the Caribbean. He was in it.
And I really, really liked the main dude, the young kid they found for it. I'd never seen that actor before. I thought he was awesome. He's very charismatic. I think that dude has a future. Also,
the fact that I'm sure he has acting experience, but the fact that he was largely unknown helped him in that role against with people like Mark Strong and Colin Firth and stuff. I
think that dude is a future A-list actor.
Oh yeah.
Dude was super charismatic. Probably had never acted with anyone near the level of those guys, and he played off of them equally. A lot of times when you have a movie like that, the protagonist plays second fiddle, and he was on even playing field with the rest of them. He felt organically like a big part of the movie, and I appreciated that, because a lot of times the
casting in that movie was fantastic. Even though they had a lot of heavy hitters, they fit their roles. They didn't have the name in there just to be able to put the name on the poster.
Yeah.
So
just fucking
fantastic movie.
Just pure unadulterated awesomeness was Kingsman. So now we're on to Ron's number 2.
Guess.
Which one did you not say? Kingsman?
No.
Shit. You threw me for a loop. You already said Mad Max?
Mad Max,
okay. I was thinking for a second that was your number 1. Because you're like, well, you're fucking wrong, Jeff. You fucking savage. With your fucking number 4 ranking.
Fuck you and your number 4 for Mad Max.
Fucking plebeian.
Dude, Mad Max blew my ever-loving mind. I've seen George Miller movies, and it still blew my ever-loving mind. Not only did they cast the new Mad Max perfectly, and not only was Charlize Theron, who's a fantastic actress, not only was she cast in this and was amazing, but they had guys on poles strapped to cars going 80 miles an hour in the desert, swinging back and forth from car to car, and it was not CGI.
And I'm pretty sure some of those guys died, and there was so much explosions and shit going on that they'll just never be found. They were just like, "What happened to James?" It's like, I don't know. What did happen?
I'm pretty
to
sure
James?
that's him raining from the sky. Like
You got a little Steve on you.
let me just wipe that off. Yeah, no, like that movie. In my mind, I don't even give a shit what it's about. Like, what they did in that movie was incredible, and I could watch it all day long and with the audio off and still be enraptured by what is happening.
Although one of the that we didn't talk about when I talked about it, the score was fucking amazing. Like, I cannot tell you. We talked about it originally.
There's a meth head on strings playing strings.
I can tell you, I can right now hum to you the main theme of Mad Max Fury Road. The movie came out like March.
Yeah.
That means you have a damn good score. And I cannot tell you how excited I am that guy's doing Deadpool. Like, I think this is going to be amazing.
And, you know, the other thing, the score was not just good, it was used well. And the thing is, like we talked about Alien? The way we talked about Alien with the music and that, the music is non-existent until after something happens. There's a lot of periods of silence as far as music goes in Mad Max, which is not something you see a lot of anymore. And then something happens, and then the score hits, the explosions hit, everything hits all at once. It's just everything about that movie is fucking brilliant. I don't want to gush about it too much.
Like I feel like I mean, I prefaced it by saying basically my 1 through 4 are 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D. Like
right,
like
they were pretty much all tied.
They're like just so close.
It's like, all right, number 4 to 1 in no particular order.
Right.
Like, yeah, but that I had to put it on mine for everything that you said about it, plus the fact that I could watch it on mute and still be just as enraptured because. Like, what they did, the technical achievements.
By a 75-year-old director,
yes.
mind you.
And a director revisiting his property that did not pull a George Lucas.
Yes. Bless him for that.
Or a James Cameron, or a whatever else you want to throw out there.
Yeah, how many sequels? Everything else, like at least like one more, maybe 2 more of these, if not.
I heard a long time ago that they were saying he could possibly sign up for 3 more, but I think he's signed up for 2 more officially.
Dude, why are they not making it now?
I know.
They need to...
Well, they're probably still trying to enlist more people to die in the making of the movie.
It's like...
They're probably trying to work out all the life insurance.
It's like basically cinematic Normandy if you're filming the fucking
more or
Mad
less.
Max sequel.
For Frodo! Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like... We cannot stress enough, like, even though it was my number 4, like, Mad Max could have been number 1. Like that. Like, it was just fucking amazing. My number 2 is Ant-Man.
Okay.
My number 2, we're like, I feel like I undercut you in the TV, and then, like, we've done it back and forth, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of hard to explain, like, I think I will sum up my recap since we already talked about it by basically saying Age of Ultron had how many people in it? And Ant-Man had fucking Ant-Man, and I could not have had more fun in that theater watching that film.
The main problem with trying to talk about Ant-Man is you can't. You just have to see the movie. Because there's no explaining it. It's such a weird, strange, fantastically done movie that, I mean, I'll tell you what. It's one of the best heist films out there. To be honest,
yeah, it's.
I mean, it's just weird. It falls into so many different categories,
and
it's even a nature documentary on some level.
Maybe my favorite performance of any film of the year was Michael Pena in Ant-Man. Like every fucking line of dialogue, he delivers it. It's gold. Like every line, I laugh my ass off, and they have the amazing. Voiceover scenes.
Yes.
Like, those are some of my favorite movies or scenes they've ever done in the MCU. Like, it was just one of the... okay, I will say, as far as watching all of the MCU movies, I've seen every one of them in the theater. That was one of the most just downright good times I've had watching them.
Oh, yeah.
Number one was the Avengers, because you cannot replicate your first time watching the
No.
Avengers. But for watching just what's like a little rinky-dink Ant-Man, like an Ant-Man film should be.
Like, come on, really
Ant-Man, and it was just nothing but a good time. So that's really all I will say about Ant-Man.
Okay. Before we move into number one territory, like we stressed in our 2015 television wrap-up, I would also like to stress once again, in case people missed that episode, our rankings and our lists are a list of favorites. So if something is in number 5, that doesn't mean we thought it fucking sucked. All 5 of these probably could have been number 1.
Don't forget to do the drum roll.
So I just wanted to stress that again, because in case someone gets mad about what you and I have picked about our number 1.
Which they won't, because no one will hear it.
No one will hear it, but still.
Yes.
Alright. Let me just... this, okay. Make sure that I didn't rearrange it again, because that's what I was thinking I had. Alright. My number 1 is... Kingsman. You totally rewrote my fucking list when you showed me that movie 4 days ago.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's all I have to say. What did I tell you all year long? I was like, I am not letting you do this podcast until I sit your ass down Clockwork Orange style and let you enjoy the fuck out of Kingsman.
Yeah. Kingsman. That's all I can say is Kingsman.
You said 5 times during watching that movie while you were a shit-faced, that's why this is movie of the year. That's why, no, fuck that. This is why this is movie of the year.
And then that one scene that we shall not name for people who have not seen it, that you and I both know what we're talking about, I sobered up for those moments and then went back into being shit-faced. So, I remember that scene vividly. Yeah, it was like watching Mad Max again, dude. Kingsman.
See, I thought Kingsman was going to be your number 2 and Mad Max was going to be your number 1 because of your reaction to me having it at 4. That was what I thought you were.
It was a red herring.
How fucking just balls to the wall, I don't give a fuck, is Kingsman. Like,
it was everything I wanted in a movie. It really was.
I want to stop the podcast and go watch. I want to go watch. Like, okay, that's the other thing.
I think this list is also a list of movies I'm going to go watch this weekend.
The other reoccurring theme, I think, to our list is not just how fun they are and it ties into it. Rewatchability.
Yes,
these were all ones we could have gone and rewatched in the theater like 4 times and still had a good time watching it. I think that's really important because, like, I mean, you watch Kingsman shitface. You're gonna. I bet within a month you've watched that again just because it's Kingsman. Like,
we have to go grocery shopping soon, and I'm stopping by the electronics section and picking it up. There's no way I'm not.
That's another good point. I never buy movies anymore. Really.
Oh, that's right. You bought it and brought it over.
Yeah.
You bought it for yourself, not to bring over.
Yes. I rarely buy Blu-rays. Basically, for me to buy the movie, it has to be one of my top 3 or 4 or 5-ish movies of the year.
Yeah.
Like, shit I know I will go back at some point and rewatch, because a lot of movies are really good, and it's not a bad thing, they're one-time events.
Well, you also know that you have Ron Buster over here in that other room.
This is also factually correct.
You can
but yeah, like, I had a feeling like that Kingsman was gonna blow you away, and it totally freaking did, because
the trailers for that movie I remember being awesome, but they do not accurately portray how amazing that movie is. That whereas most trailers do a movie a disservice by just showing you how bad it's going to suck and all the plot holes in a movie or all of the spoilers in a movie, Kingsman trailers, while awesome trailers, did the movie a disservice because they did not adequately show you how awesome the movie was going to be.
Yeah, they sold you but didn't oversell you what the movie was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I think they probably undersold, because I think if they'd sold a little bit more, I would have made it out to the theater to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to see it.
I wanted to see it really bad too. It was just I never got around to it. and
Yeah.
guy.
And the very few people I know that saw it all said it was good. It was worth checking out. They didn't tell me it was fucking amazing.
A lot of the people I've talked to about it have said that's my favorite movie of the year.
Yeah.
Of my friends circle, like almost everyone, it's either Mad Max or it's Kingsman. That's been those are probably the two, because a lot of people really liked Ant-Man, but not many people loved it to the extent you and I did, I don't think.
Yeah.
That one didn't catch on as well as I think it should have.
A lot of people probably aren't plugged into that stuff as much as you and I are, and we know full well Ant-Man should not have worked. You know
or
what I
have
mean?
ever been a thing to
or
work
have ever
not.
even made it to a pitch.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, Kingsman.
All right, are we going to do drum roll for Jeff's?
No, Jeffs don't get drum rolls. All right.
Josh Trank's Fantastic Four.
I thought you were going to say Point Break.
Suck it, Ron. Star Wars Episode 7.
I knew it. But no surprises there.
My whole thing was Star Wars Episode 7. I will preface this. I will not tell you a goddamn spoiler about Episode 7. I won't even talk about specifically Episode 7. Just no spoilers. Talk about it freely. Star Wars Episode 7, I don't think, is as good of a film as Ant-Man, Kingsman, or Mad Max.
Okay.
But what I think that JJ did with it, and we've talked about this in a detail which we will not go into here off mic. All of your complaints about the film are completely 100% valid. What I think he accomplished with the movie was something that can't really be described in specific detail. But
I think I described it pretty well.
to me, what he did, which was basically like an impossible task to do, and that he put the magic back in the bottle. George Lucas had crushed his property so bad to where
I'm sorry, I'm dying laughing
because of the George Lucas thing
that he came out with today. The white slavers comment. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you Google George Lucas and you will find that fucking article.
That's my favorite article. That's my favorite news story of the year.
Right.
And it happened on the last day we were going to be recording. That's fantastic. Sorry.
But it's one of those things where I haven't had enthusiasm for Star Wars since I was probably 6 years old. Because what I wanted to bring up in this discussion that we've talked about, and you basically told me that you think the only reason I like Star Wars Episode 7 as much as I do because I'm nostalgic for Star Wars. I think you forget, in that since I'm a little bit younger than you, I was 8 years old in the theater opening weekend for Episode 1, and I was 11 for Attack of the Clones. I was prime real estate to have my 11 and 8-year-old brain nostalgia into submission and eat that shit up, and I have no affinity for those films whatsoever, even though I love Star Wars. With this one, and what I've been prefacing it
but
with
knowing your dad, you were probably 3 or 4 when he first showed you the original. Not that I know your dad, just I know what you told me.
But the first time I could probably have said I watched it and actually kind of understand what I'm watching, probably like 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I'm saying. You've said multiple times, Independence Day hit you when you were what, like 10 or 11?
Yeah.
And that's like you're just starting to kind of being able to comprehend what you're seeing as far as like movies and TV shows go. So I was in the demographic where I should have nostalgia for those movies and I don't. Because what I think JJ did with Star Wars The Force Awakens, and all of your complaints about it, I've said before, are 110% valid. But what he did with it, which is what I think George Lucas completely lost sight of, was because Star Wars is meant to be fun, and it's meant to be science fantasy. And I will break down, you've said before how you don't see a distinguishable difference between like the prequels and this one, and it's Star Wars is kind of a big blur.
With the exception of creepy Anakin. That is clearly out of left field.
I'm going to break down to you.
Oh God!
What is present in this one?
Here we go.
That is present in the prequels, and what makes it different and what makes it fun.
I'm surprised you haven't pulled out note cards yet.
One,
you have a list on your phone, don't you?
No, I actually don't. I'll show you.
Okay.
I just have my list of my movies.
Okay.
There are no midichlorians.
Thank God.
There is nothing in this film.
I want to go on record as I am a fan of Star Wars. I'm not a super fan like you, but I like the movies. Our recent discussions have probably made it sound like I don't, but I do. But the two things that killed me with Star Wars, the prequels,
which you re-reference all the time,
is penicillin is the greatest weakness for a Jedi, and fucking Ghost Christian Haydenson, or whatever the fuck his name is. Hayden Christensen, whatever.
No, now you have your complaints about it in Force Awakens. Nothing in Force Awakens changed your opinion about Star Wars that happened before it. Which, like you said, in Episode 1, making the midi-chlorians shits all over the mysticism of the original 3 movies.
Yeah.
That's like... George doesn't understand that. That is a factual statement.
So the Force is strong with this one. It's like, well, should he be getting to the hospital then? Is he contagious? I don't want the Force.
2 on the list is in the prequels. Okay, this is what I think happened. George Lucas wrote and directed Star Wars and created the whole shebang that happened back in 1977. Steps away a little bit, and in Empire Strikes Back only writes the story for it, and the screenplay is mostly done by Lawrence Kasdan. It's directed by Irvin Kershner, I think was his name. In Return of the Jedi, again, he wrote the basic kind of story. The screenplay was mostly done by Kasdan, different director. In between 1983 and 1999, when he came back to do the prequels, when he took over ownership of Judge, Jury, and Executioner, of writing, executive producing, and directing...
He was George Dredd.
Nice. That was nice.
Hold on. I have to...
I will grant you that one. That was good. George Dredd versus the White Slave Drivers. I would read that comic.
I would watch that movie, dude.
In between 1983 and 1999, I think George Lucas lost his damn mind and thought he was this brilliant science fiction writer, when he never was.
No.
The first Star Wars movie is fun science fantasy.
He had an idea that people who know how to write ran with. That's his biggest contribution. He had an idea.
And we're going to take it back to 1977, and a lot of time, I don't know if we talked about it here, but we have talked about it off mic, you do not genuinely understand why Star Wars is as big as it is. You've said that before. You don't really get why it is as popular as it is.
Yeah.
Is that a fair...
That's fair. I wouldn't say that it's overrated or anything like that, but what's the word that you use all the time? For certain TV shows and everything that you don't understand why it's so popular.
My mind's going blank.
I know, we're so good at the podcasting thing again, but yes. I'd say that's fair. It doesn't blow me away. I've never understood people's fascination.
Okay. I'm going to take it back. We're going to talk about
I do want to point out though that I do understand how mind-blowing that would be in the 70s and 80s.
That's what I think. I think this is an interesting point to talk about Star Wars in general, of why I think it became as big as it is because typically science fiction is used as an allegory or subtextually talking about real life. A lot of things, specifically in the 60s and 70s. Let's look back at some of the sci-fi films that were popping up back then. You had stuff like Logan's Run, Soylent Green, Planet of the Apes, stuff like that. What's the recurring theme? It's all dark.
Yeah.
Star Wars, I think, hit as big as it is, not because it's the best thing you've ever seen, but because those people in the 60s and 70s didn't Logan's Run and stuff like that, Soylent Green, were darker. That's not something you go and take your dad and your kid to go and have fun watching and go and people went and watched it over and over and over again was because back then
it was that generation's Ant-Man.
They were not used to seeing something they could go and hang out with their friends on a Friday night. We got nothing to do. Let's go have fun, watch Star Wars. They didn't have that back then.
Yeah.
So I think that's what set it going back then. And then what chain reactioned it into still being a thing now is, first of all, there are great concepts by George Lucas. I think George Lucas is an awful dialogue writer. I think conceptually Star Wars is very good. Because how many fucking novels and video games and comic books and like endless things.
I'm absorbed into the video games ecosystem.
Yeah. Like,
so.
It was all taken, like you said, and done by people who were better writers.
Yeah.
And I think that's what got lost in translation between the originals and the prequels. And why I don't have any affinity for the prequels is because one of the other things on my list of things that are in the prequels and not in Force Awakens or the originals. You and I have rewatched episode 1 multiple times and episode 2. Can you tell me what the fuck exactly the trade negotiation shit was? Like, that they talk about all the Trade Federation stuff. They kept talking like they were having these disputes and shit. He was basically trying to be like George R.R. Martin.
Yeah.
He was trying to basically make it science fiction, and basically he thought he was a better writer than he really is.
Yeah.
And he completely lost the fun aspects of the original ones. Because the original movies are not the best movies you've ever seen, but they are movies that you can, like you've seen on Twitter. I know you're not really on Facebook anymore, but I'm sure you've seen pictures like Kevin Smith talking about taking his mom, taking his kid. My dad went with my little brother, my mom. My friend Josh put a picture on Twitter. He was like, I'm taking my 7-year-old nephew, whatever he was, to his first Star Wars theater opening. Mm-hmm. Like, Star Wars is not the best piece. Like, Looper is a better movie than any Star Wars movie has ever been. Looper is not something you can take granddad and go have fun on a Saturday night at the theater with. You know, it's like, it's less about Star Wars being good movies as far as it being like a fun experience you can share. And that has been, to me, the reoccurring theme of our 2015 list.
Yeah.
Is The Force Awakens is something from beginning to end that you can just sit back and have fun. And watching it that Thursday night, I didn't actually watch it like the first wave, the 7 or 8 o'clock ones. I watched it at 11 o'clock, 11:10 was actually when it started. Yeah. It was on opening night though, and the theater was just absolutely like Ralph Garman put it on Babylon. It was electric. Like the crowd was so excited, and to be a part of, yeah.
He was at the official premiere, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you imagine? You saw it in the theater that you saw it in. Could you imagine being at the official premiere?
Dude, I would die. But it's like, also, how many boring ass courtroom negotiation scenes did we have in Force Awakens?
God.
How many times in the prequels did they have that giant fucking room of the Republic court thing?
The Senate.
And the Senate.
The Galactic Senate.
And could you tell me a single plot line of their Senate negotiations? No. It was garbage. It was George Lucas thinking he was fucking smarter than he actually is. Because George R.R. Martin could do that shit and make people talking interesting.
I get why he had it in there, though, because they voted him the powers that ultimately made him emperor. But they weren't written well.
They weren't written well. There was too many of them, and they could have accomplished doing what he wanted to in a whole lot less screen time, I think. And there was no rolling around of two love interests like it's fucking Twilight and Attack of the Clones. Like, literally in Attack of the Clones, what portion of the movie would you say is Anakin and Padme on Naboo dicking around being like Twilight? What, 45 minutes at least?
Yeah, I mean, it cuts back to them quite a bit.
So like, when I look at Force Awakens...
It's probably not quite that much, but...
It's a good portion.
It's longer than it needs to be.
The Force Awakens, from start to finish, it's fun. You, Philip, and I laughed at least 10, 12 times throughout the film. Like, laugh out loud. It's fun. It's got, to me...
I'm renaming my dog BB-8.
Right? It's got charm, and to me it had heart that the prequels never did outside of Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan. His performance in Episode 3... to me was the only time there was ever like heart to those movies. Like when he's talking to Anakin, that was heart to me.
Yeah.
That was, cause like the way that I look and I compare Force Awakens to the prequels is actually the same exact way I compare Ant-Man to Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron
Sorry.
Age of Ultron has shit going down all the time. The prequels have a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
But it feels lifeless. Like, would you agree with that? Like, compared to Ant-Man? Ant-Man has an inherent charm to it. And it's lightweight, and it's fluffy, and it's meant to be fun.
But that's kind of the way that I feel about all 7 of them, really.
See, the
because to me it's always not. I don't want to say a faceless villain, but it's like to me it kind of feels like faceless villain, and then like faceless people fighting faceless battles, and you just watch faceless people die on screen.
The thing about what's interesting to me is the reason you don't like it is the reason it's become such a thing is because the Star Wars movies are vanilla, and they're meant to be vanilla. Like, they're meant to be accessible whether you're 3 years old or 80.
I like how you chose vanilla when people were accusing it of being whitewashed also.
Yeah, that was totally
that was a poor choice, Jeff. But no, so is all of this what you were telling me you wanted to save for the podcast because you thought it might change some of my opinions?
No. I already told you what your specific complaints about the movie
I
are
know that,
valid.
But you had been telling me that there was something that you thought would change my mind a little bit about the movie, and I could see more of where you're coming from and all that, and you were saving it for the podcast. Was that all it?
Basically, what you and our complaints about people complaining about Jurassic World and with Terminator is the people I think that have really, really huge problems with The Force Awakens didn't get that JJ set out to do what they did originally, and it's just fun science fantasy. Yeah. What you wanted out of it was you wanted JJ to blow your mind, and that is a completely fair expectation. You wanted something you had never seen before. I wanted something that had been gone, and I wanted it back because my bottom line as a Star Wars diehard fan of, there are people a lot more into it than I am. I'm a good-sized Star Wars fan, but not like some people have like fucking Mandalorian tattoos and shit like that. Like, when I was watching that movie, I felt like I was watching Star Wars for the first time since I was probably 5 or 6 years old watching the originals for the first time. When I watched those films, the prequels, like, it doesn't scream Star Wars. That's just my biggest thing.
What I was going to say is I pretty much already agreed with all of that. That's why I was asking.
Well, my thing is, you were saying, without getting into specifics.
I know, that makes this really difficult. But
yeah, and I know I want to. Well, we can talk about it off mic, but the way that you look at it is you are totally right to, think you wanted JJ to blow your mind and show you something you'd never seen before.
No, well, it's not just that. It's not just, like, that's what he definitely did with Star Trek, because I didn't give two shits about Star Trek before JJ's Star Trek. Even if he didn't blow my mind, I still expected more from this, being A, J.J. Abrams, and B, Star Wars Episode 7, being the sequel to 6.
My whole thing is conceptually and tone, it's bringing Star Wars back, because for the prequels...
Conceptually, I disagree with.
With Force Awakens, it sets out to be fun, lighthearted science fantasy, which none of the prequels were. They were George Lucas thinking he was a better writer than he actually was, trying to turn it into science fiction, and it all fucking failed for the most part.
Yeah.
The old movies have nothing fucking groundbreaking really going on in them, but they have... There's inherent charm in them, in the fact that it's not George Lucas blowing smoke and, It's hard to explain without going into detail about Force Awakens, but basically, I don't think you would disagree with this statement. It is a fun and good time of a movie. It's fun. We all laughed multiple times. We laughed more times in the fucking first 30 minutes of that movie than we did the entire prequel trilogy. I think you would agree with that statement.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
But the bottom line is...
It had the tone of the original movies. And
that was what I wanted back, and I was satisfied because that's what happened.
While, to me, there's not a whole lot of difference between the originals and the prequels, I will acknowledge that there's a disconnect in tone.
Yes. That is basically why I like Force Awakens so much. It's because why you dislike it is perfectly fine. But... It's like one of those things where you can't explain.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's just nostalgia, because I honestly...
I think nostalgia has more to do with it than what you think, though.
But, by all rights, I should love the prequels, because I watched them at age 8 and 11.
Also, though, I mean, you could probably argue that there was probably a good chance that you might have, and then as you've gotten older and watched the other ones more and more, you know, because your opinions on how you watch things and everything changes over time also. But I don't know. To me, God, I don't even know how to say this without giving anything away. The tone was definitely Star Wars, but it's just I just expected more from the movie itself.
And basically what I can boil down your viewing of it and my viewing of it is you wanted something you had never seen before, and I wanted the feeling of watching those old movies back again, and I thought JJ nailed it.
But I still think that could have been accomplished with a different direction.
It's all fair, and
I think one of the issues you and I have with this has been an ongoing conversation basically since I came out of the closet as, man, it was all right. When I think you were under the impression that we all thought it was amazing.
No, I could tell that it didn't like blow you away. But when we first started talking about it, you were being shittier than your like the way that you came across, and you would agree it sounded shittier than you actually meant it to be.
I don't know that I agree with that.
No, you tried to pull an argument squarely out of your ass, saying that something you do we just want to say we've already established our top 5?
Okay.
Spoilers from here on out, and you can stop the podcast because spoilers from here on out. You've heard both of our top 5s. We just want to call that right now.
Okay, sure.
Spoilers from now.
Well, we haven't done runners up though.
Fuck. Fuck it. I don't even care. No one would listen this far to us anyway. Okay. What were you going to say? I thought you were the one who was.
Had a thought.
You were the one who was always waiting to get the spoilers.
I thought you had a thought. No, the thing that I want to say that my biggest argument against it is, since we're in spoiler territory now, is I went in expecting to see episode 7, not episode 4 again.
And I've told you multiple times, Ron.
I know. But
it is a valid complaint, but what you wanted out of the movie, you didn't get. And it is totally fair to say, I wanted JJ to continue the storyline and blow my mind. And all I cared about was walking out of the theater and feeling like I watched a Star Wars film, and I did. For the first time in a long fucking time. And let's just break it down. There's enthusiasm for Star Wars again. It currently on Rotten Tomatoes has plus 90 in both critic rating and an audience rating. If Star Wars is back in a big bad way.
If it had been sold to me as a reboot, I'd be on that bandwagon. I'd be all over that bandwagon.
Well, at that point, right there, would you agree it is a fun and charming movie? If you watch it in a microcosm, if you lived in a cave your whole life, that's the only movie you ever watched. It's just, at its core, it is a fun, fast-paced, we haven't really brought that up. It's really quickly paced. There's not a lot of dicking around.
Yeah.
There's no fucking grinding the movie to a fucking halt to do those Senate room scenes, or to go and look at fucking Padme and Anakin flirt for 45 minutes. Like, all of that was gone. And yeah, it is, in some regards, like you were saying, a rehashed idea.
Yeah.
But it's just like one of those things where with that movie, how you feel about watching it goes past what you can write down on a piece of paper as like a review, if that makes any sense. And the one I was talking about that I called you out on is you specifically asked, as far as one of your biggest complaints about Star Wars, is it never had stakes. Name one fucking time you saw Harrison Ford die on a movie.
It's still, the way it was done, it didn't do anything for me. I almost didn't care that it happened.
You have to admit, though, for Star Wars, that is stakes.
I think part of my problem is that a Jon Snow wannabe is the one that did it. I don't know. I cannot buy, and that he never should have taken his helmet off. I cannot buy into it.
See, I will grant you guys the hair thing. the Jon Snow hair.
Yeah.
I think he is conceptually a more interesting character than you give him credit for.
It's not just the hair. I mean, that kind of goes back to Kyle Reese's abs and stuff, but it's not just the hair. It's just he was Luke and Anakin all over again is the way I see him.
I think what makes him different is for the first time in the Star Wars films, you have the main villain, as far as like, okay, the bad guy actively wants to be a bad guy. In my opinion, for Star Wars, that is kind of an interesting take on it, and he's being seduced by the light side. There are conceptually some tweaks to his character, which I think are more interesting than a lot of people give it credit for. It was just like, it's so hard. It's like, I agree with you, and I've said multiple times, like, your complaints are valid, and I'm not saying like your opinion is wrong. It's just one of those things where I don't think that saying now, and also let's talk about the scene where it happens.
Okay,
I think when he kills him, and you were saying like what took you out of it was you knew it was going to happen. JJ knows what he's doing. He's a good director. That scene was meant to happen like that. Like, he's not an idiot. He realizes he's setting it up because like what happens before he stabs him? The whole screen goes dark because of the sun dying for like 10 seconds. Like, you know what's going to happen, but the whole thing is, it's like Star Wars being the way it is and not killing people and being vanilla kind of psychs you out a bit because you're like, there's no way they're going to kill Harrison Ford. Because that never happens, and it never especially happens. In Star Wars? What before then? Who is the most important character who got killed off outside of like the ending, like Darth Vader dying in Return of the Jedi? Like Qui-Gon? Is that the closest they get? Qui-Gon was in the first movie for what, like? He doesn't have as much screen time as you probably think he would have. Like, he doesn't have as much stocked up interest as like. Basically, what I took issue with was you were saying killing Han Solo has no stakes associated with it. You've said before he's your favorite character. Like, they're killing Obi-Wan, they're killing the most overall beloved character. For Star Wars, that is ballsy. JJ can say, "Oh, I directed one Star Wars movie. That was when they killed Han Solo." That takes balls. Like, there is inherent stakes associated with that are, we're not talking Game of Thrones. I'm not saying it's fucking Game of Thrones stakes. Like, that's a whole nother level. But for Star Wars, that is something that was not inherent before.
It just didn't do anything for me. To me, the whole scene was just, to me, it was almost equivalent to the Beth death in Walking Dead. Like, it was just...
See, that's the other thing.
It did absolutely nothing for me.
Because, as far as, Beth's death is just a shocker. It's just as a little twist of, and it has no repercussions really, other than Daryl got sad.
That's basically how I felt about Han's death.
In Force Awakens, Han dying fully establishes Kylo Ren of not... Okay, like, let's break it down, like, in Return of the Jedi, I know you haven't seen it in a while, but, like, the whole basis of it is Luke being seduced or not.
Right.
And Luke fighting the dark side away and choosing light.
Right.
That in that moment is, and I know it's a villain you don't really like, but if you just look at the movie as a whole, is the setup of the antagonist. So even though it's of an antagonist you didn't like, it had repercussions just for a character you didn't really like. The Beth thing literally has no repercussions, period. And I thought it was meaningful in the scope of things.
I don't know, I just still didn't even feel like it accomplishes that. I just don't feel like it served any purpose really at all except to shock the audience because it happened.
Oh, do you disagree though? That is the moment that the antagonist is fully established as being the villain. Because that scene,
they kind of established that when he ordered the slaughter on the village in the first 5 minutes.
But the thing is what I'm talking about is it's the moment in Return of the Jedi at the end when Luke establishes. When he throws his lightsaber down, he's like, I am a Jedi like my father before me. Kill me. I don't give a fuck. I'm not turning. It was the polar opposite of him. He actively chose to kill his family member to establish himself as a full-on Sith Lord, basically. Because earlier on in the movie, that happens at the first scene of the movie. Throughout the film, he's talking with Snoke about being seduced. Like, when he's talking to the Darth Vader helmet, he's in the middle of the movie.
Right.
He's like, he's doing bad shit, but it's to faceless people. What establishes him as the antagonist is killing his dad. Which, what I also found interesting about his character is actually the only real interesting takeaway the prequels led to Force Awakens, is that he's obsessed with becoming Darth Vader. And what I found, it was kind of, I thought, clever, ironic writing, in that in his quest, his obsessive quest to become Darth Vader, he literally does the opposite of everything Anakin ever did. Anakin's whole thing about becoming Darth Vader is to save his family.
Right.
Because originally it's to save his mother. He ends up not being able to do that. And, that was like the whole foundation, and then it led to him, thinking he had killed Padme. Like, his whole thing was he was being bad with good intentions. And Kylo Ren is obsessed with becoming Darth Vader, not realizing he's literally doing all the polar opposite actions and choices.
Right.
And I thought, like, yeah, he has fucking Jon Snow hair, but if you look on the subtext of his character's motivations and, like, him being seduced by the light side, I thought they played on certain Star Wars concepts that haven't really been dealt with before.
I mean, and I'll give you that, but I don't really buy into it. It's just, I don't know, he's just not an interesting villain to me at all. To me, when I see Anakin and I see Luke, I see just basically a couple of whiny bitches for the most part, right? I mean, they just walk around and they whine, and it's not fair, and yet somehow good things just keep happening to him, except Anakin, I guess. But, I mean, he had some good things that he threw away. He threw to the wind, not realizing he was doing it. And then I look at him, and I see a kid that's not only whining, but acting out. And that is all I see.
I also liked how the movie is aware of it because they have jokes about it.
Because what I was appreciating when we had Rey and Finn and things like, God, we're finally away from the whininess of, like, one of the main stars, right? And then it turns out, no, that's just what Kylo Ren is. They just hadn't showed you that yet. And
it's fair.
One
of the other things I really liked about the movie is, for the first time, the coolest new character is the protagonist. That's never been the case in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's true.
Rey is the coolest new character by far, and she's also the protagonist. And I actually thought her and Furiosa and Mad Max were cool ways to establish female leads, not fucking Ghostbusters making a segregated female movie.
Yeah.
And what I was talking about before is, if I came across as I was going to be able to sway you into liking the movie, that's fucking impossible. That's not how the world works. If we all agree on everything, the world would be fucking boring.
Right.
But my thing was what I thought you might find interesting is the reason Star Wars has become what it is, and the reason why people like it so much is the reason you don't like it, is because it's vanilla, and it's because people can take their grandparents to go see it.
Yeah.
It's like what it is.
I think my overall problem with all 7 movies is they are just way too fairy tale like.
Which that is precisely why I liked the movie, was because Star Wars in 1977 and in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, like I say a million times, the fucking Empire is defeated by an army of teddy bears. It's it is a fairy tale at its core.
But it always seems to have, well, I guess with the exception of Episode 3 and probably 5, everybody always lives happily ever after kind of ending to it. And it does shit that pisses me off in movies where, like, say, Kylo Ren versus Rey. She's been a Jedi all of 5 minutes. She learned while strapped into a chair in, like, 5 minutes. And she's already doing advanced tricks that a Jedi Master was doing and blowing her mind with in the original Star Wars. And
it is also okay, another thing.
Well, hold on, let me finish my point real quick. In the lightsaber fight, she's getting her ass handed to her, which she should be, because he was trained by Luke.
He also, to be fair, got fucking sniped by a bowcaster, which you just saw explode 2 stormtroopers. He is injured.
From what I have seen in other movies, while that is definitely a problem, he should be able to take down someone that's not a Padawan yet.
Dude got, like, did you see what happened to the stormtroopers? They got hit by the bowcaster. They exploded, Ron. He got hit. He got sniped, which was also, dude, come on. Chewie going badass after Han gets shot is fucking awesome. He takes out like 12 stormtroopers. He fucking...
I'm not a big Chewie fan, so...
Just think about it. Han's killed. That's his boy, as Kevin Smith calls it. Like, that's his boy dying. That's his best fucking friend. That's like... What happens if, like, your dog watched you die, basically?
Yeah.
Like, just berserk mode. Snipes fucking Kylo Ren from, like, a mile away with a bowcaster, which is badass, even though you don't like Chewie. It's badass. And then kills, like, 12 stormtroopers. Like, that's just a cool scene. Come on.
Yeah, it was cool. But he's kicking her ass. She is about to die, basically. And then he mentions the Force, and then she just kind of has this, oh, yeah, that's right, I can do that. And then all of a sudden, he's completely powerless against her. And I feel like, while I know your argument is that's basically part of the plot for the trilogy.
It's an ongoing mystery, which I don't think
I feel like there's better ways to go about it.
That may be true, but we're also talking about Star Wars. Like, I am basically saying your complaints about it have been there for 38 years. Like... Yeah, like, shit you not. In the original movie, fucking Luke uses the Force to take out the Death Star, and that's part of like.
To be fair, he used the Force to guide an object into a hole.
That sounded so dirty. but like my point is, it's Star Wars. And it is, like, your complaint about it is what makes it so beloved, because it is a fairy tale. Like, it is a feel-good movie, and...
I don't get it.
Yeah, you don't get it, but you have to admit, like, Looper is a better movie than, like I said, than Star Wars. It's not something you can take the family and go have an event, go and watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it is an event when it happens, for good or bad. Like, we're still bitching about the prequels 15 years later. It's just, my whole thing was... I walked away feeling like I watched a Star Wars film, which I never did watching the prequels.
I felt like that every time. So,
but you have no basis to compare to, because it's something you've never liked to begin with. So basically, you're saying this is shitty because it's something it's been the entire time.
That's first off, I didn't say any of that because I do like Star Wars, and I didn't say it was a shitty movie. I just don't get all of the love and attention that it gets.
Yeah,
I don't know. It doesn't grab me like other movies do.
I think why it is that you like the video games and you probably would like stuff like the novels and stuff is because typically that's the stuff that has edge to it. These movies are made to be vanilla. Like the darkest they ever get. Okay, let's just back up for a second really quick.
I was at one point actually about to say it almost feels like a Disney movie.
Right?
But
oh my god, the fucking Disney movie wasn't dark, you know what I mean?
And then I realized it's a fucking Disney movie.
Okay, how you were saying you thought the Han death was kind of bullshit and had no stakes associated with it. Anakin killing...
Why did you sound like Cartman just then?
I have no idea. Anakin killing 30 random children, that is a Beth death. That is for shock value. You have no fucking associated with... And then they call them fucking younglings. Like, what the fucking fuck? Like, those
They're
are...
not trees.
They're
not saplings. I don't...
That was a Beth kill. That served no purpose other than to shock you.
But you could also have the same argument that you had about why he was killing Han and what that did for him, cementing him into the dark side.
Well, I think the first time that happens though is that's just
because you cut a child in half. So,
well,
I mean,
the first time he kind of snaps though is the Mace Windu thing. If you remember, like when the Emperor tricks him basically into helping him kill Mace Windu.
Yeah.
That I think was the first time he actually like officially. But yeah, I get what you're saying. But my basis was basically saying like to me those are faceless younglings. It wasn't the most beloved character in the franchise, which you have a fair point of saying. Yeah, it's like telegraphed, and then it's from a villain that you didn't care about. But bottom line. You saw Harrison Ford die in a movie. That never happens. Name one other time you've seen Harrison Ford die in a movie, period. I can't name one.
I can't name one either.
I can't name one. Like, you're totally right. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, when you look back on it as a whole, JJ can be like, I fucking killed Han Solo. That has stakes in Star Wars, because that is the last time you will ever see...
Oh God, imagine if they give him Indiana Jones.
He's dead.
It'll be the last time we ever see Indy. Shia LaBeouf will make a return and swings from some fucking vines.
The Shia Awakens. Yeah, my whole thing, if it sounded like I was going to be able to sway you into liking Star Wars, that isn't possible, because that is not how opinions work. I'm not going to be like, oh, I like Star Wars now, Jeff. You're totally right. The thing is...
First off, even if that happened, I would never admit it to you. So.
You already did. What was your 4 and 5, bitch?
Fuck you, good sir.
I think that is a good wrap up, though. In that, and I prefaced that, did I not say Star Wars The Force Awakens is not the best movie I saw this year? It was an event, and it was up there with the first Avengers movie, as I felt like I had a shared experience with the audience. It was just a fun time to have, period.
Yeah, I thought it was nowhere near Avengers. I never would have made that comparison.
No. I'm not saying the movie is as good as the Avengers.
No, I know.
The shared experience with the audience was that, like the event,
which is what I got from Avengers. I did not get from this.
Like in Avengers when Hulk bashes Loki around, the whole audience goes apeshit, and that's like a shared experience, type of thing. If that makes sense, like
no, I know what you're saying, but I didn't get that.
I'm not saying, and you're not, like, the thing is, you're not wrong. I'm not wrong. It's just, I basically wanted to say,
like every argument we ever have,
we just talk in circles for 3 hours.
Yep.
The thing is, though, as I always say, I can divorce myself from my own nostalgia, because I will tell you, how many times have I told you I think Power Rangers is dog shit? I think basically every...
See, them's fighting words.
see, like, I can tell you Power Rangers is dog shit. You are convinced it's cinematic history. You are the person, to me, who can't divorce himself from their childhood.
No, I can't, and I like that about myself.
I can...
I don't like much about myself. That one I do.
I love Dragon Ball Z. I love my nostalgia for Dragon Ball Z. I cannot watch it. I can't. I just cannot stand it.
I could sit down and watch it all through right now.
I can't stand the pacing of it. Like, it made, like, I actually... I
get lost in it.
Dragon Ball Z, when I went to try and rewatch it, hurt some of my favorite scenes, because I laughed at them, because, like, fucking Trunks, like, slicing Frieza, this is what happens. Like, it's ridiculous, and like, that was so epic to me as a kid.
But that's where it was aimed, though. And
when I watched the original Star Wars movies as a kid, if I went back and rewatched it and thought it was dog shit, I would sit here and tell you, like I just told you, like, I think there is a difference between the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy that you honestly can't see, because as a whole, they're not movies that you particularly like. And like, where I can see, like my list of details, you wouldn't argue, midi-chlorians gone, bullshit Twilight scenes gone, pointless Senate scenes gone. At its core, the new movie was fun science fantasy. That's what I wanted out of Star Wars. That's just... I just
didn't want it out of a Star Wars movie I've seen before. That was my biggest argument.
And to be fair to you, you said if it had been branded a reboot, you would have been all on board.
Oh yeah, I would have been right on the bandwagon with everyone else.
Because it is a good movie. It is just a rehashed plot.
But seeing what the direction is they want to go with it, it does kind of kindle a little bit of excitement for me in Episode 8 and in the spin-offs. But this one didn't necessarily
that is also one of the things I love so much about The Force Awakens has nothing to do with the movie itself. It is the reinvigorated enthusiasm for Star Wars. Because this same internet crowd, myself included, that has been doing nothing but bitch and moan about the changes in the special editions and the prequels, we all are posting on Facebook countdown days to Rogue One.
Yeah.
Like, that type of enthusiasm is back for Star Wars.
I would have been excited for that one either way, though, because I've always been fascinated about in between episodes 3 and 4.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to shit on Rogue One. I'm just saying,
No, I know. I'm just saying
the internet as a whole, which we've established multiple times.
I'm just saying that either way, was excited for that one because that's one thing I love about Force Unleashed so much. That's the time period it takes place. It's the founding of the Rebel Alliance. It's
also the cool thing about Disney acquiring it for you specifically is because they, with the Han Solo spinoff, and they're talking about Boba Fett and young Obi-Wan. We talked about that all the time on the podcast. Was being rumored. Right now, because it's Disney acquired, we can get Rogue One, and I guarantee you, only one or two people live by the end of that movie.
Right.
Like, those type of things within Star Wars can happen now because they're not all only going to be George Lucas, either science fantasy or his failed science fiction.
Honestly, I expect Rogue One to go no other direction other than to maybe even kill everybody, and it just happens to like drift into someone else's hands.
My favorite thing about The Force Awakens is the reaction. I like how I live in a world, and I put this on Facebook. And I know you've deactivated Facebook, basically, gone away. But one of the first things I posted on Facebook after I saw The Force Awakens is I am just happy to live in a world where there is enthusiasm for Star Wars again, because it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Because have you watched the honest trailer for Episode 3? One of the funniest.
I didn't know there was one. I watched the one for OG Star Wars, but
we need to watch it because one of the funniest things that they say, and is so true, is because it starts out when it's like Episode 3. The installment in the trilogy so bad, this one's considered the good one. It's so accurate because Episode 3 is compared to the first two, fucking cinematic gold, just because of the trilogy it exists in. But yeah, that was my whole thing. I never intended to sway you because it's impossible. I cannot share my experience with you. I just wanted to say, I think it goes a little bit deeper than, hey, I like Star Wars as a kid. I like Force Awakens. I think there's more subtext to it than that you can't explain. Because
I still think that's a majority of it, though. I would agree it's not all.
I would, but my thing is, how many times have I told you shit I'm nostalgic for is dog shit? It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Batman the animated series, Spider-Man cartoon, and some of the really, really good Nickelodeon Cartoon Network stuff. Other than that, my childhood consisted of dog shit. I like Barney the Dinosaur. Shit was dog shit.
I thought it was dog shit when I was a kid too, so I don't know.
I went back and watched the original Star Wars films before Force Awakens, and I would sit here and tell you I think they are just decent movies. They're not fucking the best sci-fi you've ever seen, but they're not trying to be. That's my main thing. Is Force Awakens, you're complaining about it being basically a reboot, or what should have been called a reboot. It's totally fair. It's just, I think at its core, it's
you sound so pained sometimes when you say that.
It's a fun movie, and our whole thing about 2015, all my movies basically, and yours, were fun. I think the people being bitchy about Force Awakens, a lot of the time, are the same people who are complaining about Terminator and Jurassic World, and they just literally cannot have fun watching a movie anymore. That pains me. Yeah. So I'm glad for the most part online.
I was one of those, according to you, when we first started talking about Star Wars. You're you were incapable of enjoying a movie.
I think you are incapable of really, really liking a Star Wars film because you just don't like... You
said a movie in your text. You said you were incapable of enjoying a movie. And that was right before you quit talking to me for a while.
To be fair to me, if anyone's actually listening to this, you tried to sell that Han Solo was basically the equivalent of an extra.
No, I said it was the equivalent of killing an extra.
Which is completely inaccurate because he's in the movies as much as Luke is in the original movies.
I don't know, because we just watched, I guess, the original Star Wars. And
after they meet him in Mos Eisley, he's in the movie as much as Luke because they're doing all the Death Star shit together.
But I don't know. I don't necessarily agree still.
No, then we will, after this, we will watch Empire Strikes Back and Jedi and Fast Forward, and I will show you all the fucking Han scenes. He's in the movie just as much as Luke is, I swear to God.
He's there, but he's not necessarily one of the main characters in any of the scenes he's there.
The most beloved character.
That doesn't make him...
He is
one of the most centric ones to the movie.
But how is he not centric to the movie? Fucking Jedi, the whole first 45 minutes is about saving Han Solo.
No, I know.
The climactic, the what the fuck moment at the end of Empire is Luke getting his hand chopped off and the I am your father reveal, but Han getting locked in carbonite is also like the big what the fuck moment because he is one of the main characters.
Yeah, and I get that, but if he's in frame, he's either just standing there or has a couple of lines and that's it usually. So
what the fuck people do in movies? They either stand there or have lines. Like I don't understand.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's hard to explain. But I don't know. He's there, and that's about all.
And I think you should rewatch the movies again because when's the last time? I'm not trying to be a dick. When is the last time you watched Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi? How many years has it been?
Probably about 3, but you always act like I've only seen them 2 or 3 times. That's probably the franchise I have watched more than any other franchise. I've seen them over and over and over again.
But I just don't, because like if he's just kind of there, then why would he be your favorite character? How do you justify him as your favorite character if he's just kind of there?
Because basically he's Indiana Jones. Like the whole idea behind the Indiana Jones movies was audiences wanted more Han Solo, and they had to do it on the cheap compared to Star Wars. So that's where Indiana Jones was born, and those are what I saw first. Those are where I fell in love with Harrison Ford and that particular character. And Han Solo and Indiana Jones are the same character.
I just think
they're just in different time periods.
Is so much more central to those original movies than you give him credit for.
I feel like you could almost remove him and it's the same movie.
I think you get so obsessed with hating on Luke's character for being he is kind of bitching those movies. Like I'm not.
I always hope he would fall on his lightsaber, but every time I watch it, it's George Lucas has still not made that edit.
I think you get so caught up in being annoyed by Luke's scenes because Han is the driving force between in Empire and Jedi they have A plot and B plot. A plot is Luke shit and B plot is Han and Leia shit. Han is the driving force of the entire B plot of Jedi and Empire.
I don't know.
In Empire, they start out in Hoth. Han goes to save Luke, and then they get separated, and the asteroid field shit is all Han-centric, talking to Leia, they have like the jokes.
Right, I've seen the movie.
Cloud City is all driven by Han. He's being tortured. He brings up, them going to see Lando in the first place. They have the whole thing towards the end.
I didn't say he didn't have any plot elements. I just said that he's not really there. He's overshadowed by this little whiny bitch kid that I keep hoping will fall on his lightsaber.
I think we just need to watch Empire and Jedi again together and then just fight each other by the end of it. Because I'm just like... It's so like in Jedi, like he's half the movie is Han. When you like, it's all about them. It's all about they get Han out of the carbonite, and the entire B plot of the movie is Han and Chewie and Leia with the Ewoks, and then them and Han organizing the shit on Endor.
Right, but like you said, it's all B plot. That was the more interesting shit.
I'm not. But I'm basically saying, and I'm not saying that's the subplot. I'm saying that's A plot, B plot.
It was basically a subplot.
I don't think it's a subplot. I think it's A plot and B plot.
It was basically a subplot.
Half the.
It was kind of like okay, we need to have Han in this movie somewhere.
They go to Luke for 10 to 15 minutes at a time, and then they cut back for 10 to 15 minutes at a time. The B plot of the movie, which is Leia and Han, they are just as main of a character. They're not the protagonists.
It's pretty much Luke all the way through, as far as I remember.
Can we watch it on fast forward, and I can just show you how much Han is in those fucking movies before the night's over?
I'm telling you, man. I've seen them several times, and it's just painful in all the Luke scenes, and it overshadows everything else.
I think you get so fixated on the Luke stuff that you can't enjoy what is good about it.
So, I don't know. This is a 2-hour podcast.
Yeah, following a 1-hour podcast. So, yeah, fun times.
We still have Dark Souls to record. And if my Stray Demon skills are any indication,
It's going to be terrible.
Yep. So
I do think you are incapable of enjoying a Star Wars film because they
I enjoy the films, though.
You hate. Your biggest complaint is like, I hate it that they're fairy tales. They have always been fairy tales. They're always going to be fairy tales.
I didn't say I hate. That's just one of the things that kind of bums me out is that it's so fairy tale like. That's the problem I have.
But like, that's like complaining about Die Hard being an action movie. They've always been that. They're never not gonna be that. Yeah, we'll agree to disagree.
Tomato.
We'll agree to disagree. I'm just fucking tired now. I don't even know how to sign this podcast off. Just tired. End of the day, I still won.
Sure.
Because what was your 4 and 5?
No.
The Terminator and Jurassic World.
Win.
I won.
You didn't win shit.
I won.
It's not a competition, Jeff. It's about having fun.
And I won. It was fun.
For the record, can I tell you my runner-ups?
Yeah, we forgot to do that. I only had one runner-up. Since you have more, mine was Sicario. It was very, very close. It was a damn good movie.
I wanted to see that movie.
It was damn good,
goddamn bad.
But it was one of the better movies of the year. But I enjoyed the rest of the stuff in my top 5 better.
Mr. Holmes, Crimson Peak, and Sicario I did not make it out to. I wanted to see those 3 movies so damn bad. My runners-up in no particular order and just barely outside of the top 5. The Martian and Star Wars Episode 7. So, fuck you. Drop mine. I'm not going to actually drop it because it's expensive, but...
To be fair, I think we were actually very, very toned down as far as arguing about Episode 7.
No, because we got that out of our system already.
Our biggest...
we nearly ended the podcast, so...
Our biggest difference is how we see the original Star Wars movies. I don't think it has anything to do with Force Awakens. Like, if you talk about like what we just talked about was all about the original movies, not about Force Awakens.
I don't even know what all we've talked about at this point. It's just a blur.
It's just a timey-wimey TV movie blur.
I'm
glad that was in your honorable mentions, though. That makes me happy. But you know what I won out? You know what beat it out? Fucking Jurassic World Terminator. So I still win.
There's no winning.
I win. I win. Fuck you. You were always the person who has the... Well, I've talked about it before. I have the no opinions are wrong. And you have the scientific, my opinion is right, and your opinion is wrong.
I do not.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
Well, if you've enjoyed this, then...
We hit the 2-hour mark, yes.
Then go ahead and subscribe. I'm sure there'll be more arguments in the future as more Star Wars movies are released.
What we had to do now is just do commentary tracks on all the Star Wars movies and just bitch about it.
Oh my god. Why have we not... What would we even call it? It can't be a ramble tracks and it can't be a rant
why
tracks.
haven't we rant tracks the prequels yet? That'd be a blast.
So, yeah. Yeah, you and I would agree on a Star Wars movie. Go ahead and subscribe if you've liked what you've heard so far. They're not always this long. We're also available on Twitter at TWBE Podcast and Facebook at facebook.com/TWBE Podcast. That's where you can find the latest news from us and what we're doing. And if there's any major earth-shattering breaking news in the geek world, we will post it there as well. As of January 1st, our podcast is no longer on iTunes and Stitcher, so you missed your chance to give us a 5-star review, but we would have appreciated it if you had. I don't know.
So does our shit
else?
disappear? Like,
Yes.
does it all disappear? Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yep, it'll completely disappear.
Sadness.
If you don't pay it, don't play.
Hey, we're on YouTube, though. We're international superstars on YouTube.
Right?
I love you, Ron. You're wrong about Star Wars, but I still love you. I just want you to know
You were my brother.
You were the chosen one.
I think that's the perfect way to sign off. I am Ron.
I'm Jeff.
Thanks, guys.